UFC 307 is coming up next weekend, and today, guys, I wanted to have an early breakdown for you with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels, and guys, welcome back to another full card breakdown video where I dive as deep into these fights as we could possibly get. We're going to be breaking them down just with predictions, fighters that I want to see when. We're going to be taking a look at betting odds, any betting tips that we could give out, and if there's any props, but not usually. Regardless, we're going to dive into these fights as deep as we can possibly go with timestamps. Again, if you'd like to skip to any part of the video, thank you so much for being here, everybody. Don't forget to comment down below, like, and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Starting off with the first fight, we have Alexander Hernandez taking on Austin Hubbard. And I gotta say, guys, like, just about most fights on this card are really, really great. Like, I cannot wait to watch this next weekend, guys. So, we have Alexander Hernandez. With these two fighters, there's not necessarily a ton to break down because you have Hernandez, who's a great athlete with good power, good speed. Unfortunately, he is one of the most inconsistent fighters in the UFC, and his 14-8 record shows. We're going to get into the record in just a second, but he's taking on Austin Hubbard, who is a well-rounded fighter. He does most of his best work when he's on the feet. He has good heart, he has good cardio, he has good power. He's a good fighter himself, but again, a little bit inconsistent, just like Alexander Hernandez, but he's definitely had the better outings as of recently. Like, even in this fight against Kurt Holobaugh, I thought it was a good showing until he ended up getting snagged in that triangle, because that was like a that was one of the sneakiest triangles we've seen in a while, to be honest with you. Like, Kurt did a great job in that fight, but like, my point being, he's on a 4-fight win streak over here, and he's looked good in all of those fights so far. The competition level could be a little bit better, but regardless, Alexander Hernandez, on the other hand, only has 1 win in his last 5, and that was against Jim Miller, and even then, that win, unfortunately, isn't exactly aging too well. And it's not like, unfortunately, Alexander Hernandez has been looking good in his fights. Like, the only one that he really looked good in was against Bill Algeo. And even then, like, good, I'm saying, with comparing it to his other performances. Unfortunately, he just has a gas tank issue. He seems to have a heart issue. He's just inconsistent in general, and you never know what Alexander Hernandez is going to show up. Because when he wins, he looks like an absolute killer. But other times, he looks like he doesn't belong in the UFC. For my pick, I'm going to have to go with Austin Hubbard, because I think that he's looked good since he came into the UFC, even in his loss. I don't know if he's a level above Alexander Hernandez, but I'm going to pick the guy who is more, not proven than Alexander Hernandez, but he's definitely less inconsistent. I'm going to pick the guy who doesn't have gas tank issues. I'm going to pick the guy who doesn't have, like, a huge chin issue, maybe, like, a heart issue. I'm going to pick Austin Hubbard in this fight, but you never know. This is one of those, like, I don't mean lower level. I'm saying lower level in the sense with Austin Hubbard still being new to the UFC. I'm not saying he's a low-level fighter. I just think that he's a little bit unproven. So when I say low level, that's what I mean by that. For one of those low-level fights, it's one of those where you can see Alexander Hernandez just blowing through and then just getting a win and looking like Alexander Hernandez that has been killing everybody when he first came onto the scene, right? So my pick's going to be Austin Hubbard, and for this fight, out of every fight on the card, this is the only fight as of right now where we don't have betting odds. So for that, we're going to have to skip that portion for this fight in particular. Now, guys, let's continue on to the next fight. Tim Means taking on Court McGee. So Tim Means, I'm a big fan of Tim Means. I love watching Tim Means fight. And I got so excited because he ended up getting the win, of course, against Andre Fialho. In hindsight, Andre Fialho was not a free win, but a little bit definitely of an easier opponent to take on. So jumping the gun a little bit, okay? You have Tim Means, who's a decently well-rounded fighter who obviously does his best work on the feet. He is a high-volume striker with great counter shots. He's good at attacking all parts of the body, good at making his opponents really think. He has good kicks, he has good pressure, and he's really good in his scrap. The only problem is, and as of recently, his age has been showing. He's 40 years old, moving on 41, and he can be chinned. He's taking on Court McGee, another fighter who is unfortunately out of his prime. He is a tough fighter who is okay everywhere, but he always got by on his toughness. He could take a lot of damage. He could really push the pace. And I've always said, like, man, for 21-13, I think that he's better than his record shows, or at the very least, like, he used to be better than his record shows. He's well past his prime now, but he has had a lot of high-level experience against high-level opponents, and more the same for Tim Means. Like, honestly, for the state of their two careers, I think it's a pretty good matchup, to be honest with you. You have Court McGee, who's unfortunately on a 3-fight losing streak, has been very inactive. Lost to Jeremiah Wells, Matt Brown, got destroyed in both those fights, and then the Alex Morono fight where neither of them just looked good. And this was like the real kicker for me. It's okay. Court McGee, unfortunately, I do believe it's time for him to retire. But Tim Means, on the other hand, so he had a really, really rough skid, okay? And it's not like he looked horrible in these fights. He was just getting beat. Then he had the big win over against Andre Fialho. So I was sitting here, and I was like, oh my god, Tim Means doesn't look 40. His counters were on point. He attacked all parts of the body like Tim Means does. The cardio looked great, and he fought through an absolute war. He ended up finishing with a head kick in the 3rd round, and I was like, okay, I don't know where that came from, but that's amazing. Let's go, Dirty Bird. Then he fought Uros Medic, and my heart shattered because I'm a big Tim Means fan, man, and I saw him get knocked out the way he did. It made me a little bit sad. So you always do have a question. Another thing is Tim Means is coming off of a KO loss just 4 months ago, and he's 41 years old. Is that going to affect him moving forward? We've seen Tim Means finish before, and I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, it's something to take into consideration, but I still think that Tim Means is going to show up. He's going to look like Tim Means usually does, in the sense, like, the Tim Means in recent times. Good fighter, but of course can't keep up with high-level competition anymore. When these two go at it, I personally think that Tim Means is going to get the job done, because while both of them are past their prime, like Court McGee is really past his prime. That, plus I think Tim Means is just the better fighter. He's had better performances as of recently, and I think that he's going to get the job done here. I really, really want Tim Means to go out on a high note and retire after this. This is the perfect opponent. It's not quite a layup, but Court McGee, unfortunately, doesn't have it anymore. There was an injury for Court McGee coming into either his last fight or one of the reasons for the layoffs, but it's not coming to me right now. If anybody can shed some light in the comments, I would appreciate it. It's escaping my memory, but maybe he wasn't injured. Maybe I'm just remembering that randomly. But my pick is going to be Tim Means, and for a fighter who I would really, really like to see win, I would really like to see Tim Means. I've been a big fan of him for a long time, and I want to see Tim Means go out on top. I want him to retire after this. That would be best case scenario. So taking a look over at OddsGym, where you can see that Tim Means is sitting at around a minus 239. Completely understandable in my opinion. The only reason that it's not more is because of Tim Means' age and probably because he just got finished. But I really, really like Tim Means in this fight. He's a confident pick of mine on this card. Now, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I feel like we've talked about this fight a lot, whether it's just in live streams or just breaking down the fight in general. I'm going to break it down, but I can't say I'm going to have a ton of passion with this one, okay? We have Ovince St. Preux taking on Ryan Spann, okay? Ovince St. Preux actually coming off upsetting Kennedy Nzechukwu with a split decision, but I personally thought it was a close fight. It could have gone either way, but Kennedy, in my opinion, edged it out just a tad, but regardless, like in this fight, they just stood in the pocket. They traded slow, sloppy shots the entire time. So you have Ovince St. Preux, who is a very, very long and powerful striker with honestly like pretty sneaky submissions as well. He unfortunately, like we were just talking about with a couple other fighters, he's now at his prime, and it seems like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it seems like his power is gone. He's low volume and doesn't really seem to have that same dog in him that he once has. Ovince St. Preux, 27-17. He's somehow gotten 2 wins in his last 3, but then again, you take a look at the opponent, Mauricio Rua. Anybody on the planet would have beat Shogun at this time, and then he got the controversial win over Kennedy Nzechukwu, and he's taking on Ryan Spann, who is but an inconsistent fighter. He's on a 3-fight losing streak to Nikita Krylov, Anthony Smith, and Bogdan Guskov. He's a very dangerous and powerful striker who at times can be lengthy, but he also has some submissions in his back pocket. He's an okay, well-rounded fighter, but like I said, man, he's just incredibly inconsistent. You can chin Ryan Spann, and that's an issue in his career. But then again, you can chin Ovince St. Preux too. You have 2 fighters in this fight, guys, that are insanely inconsistent. This is closer to a 50-50 fight. And I don't even know what I said last time around, who I thought was going to win, but I'm probably going to change it again by the time the fight comes about. This is a big 50-50 fight. I'm going to lean towards Ryan Spann because he's younger. He still has that power. He might still have the dog on him if he doesn't get chinned. But Ovince St. Preux has had a one-off performance. But even then, like even his last fight, he just traded slow and sloppy shots. But even then, like, what if Ryan Spann decides to go in and trade slow, sloppy shots? I don't know. It's a ridiculous fight to bet on, in my opinion. Definitely not to put your money on, but my pick is going to be Ryan Spann. Let's take a look over at OddsGym, and you have Ryan Spann sitting at a really huge favorite. I don't think that Ryan Spann should ever be a minus 329 favorite, man. The dude is incredibly inconsistent, even though Ovince St. Preux is a shell of the fighter that he once was. I think that's nuts. But regardless, my money is staying far away from this fight. All right, guys, let's continue on up over to the next fight. Next up, we have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Joaquin Buckley. This is a fight that I really, really don't want to see because I'm a big fan of both guys. I really like Joaquin Buckley and the career that he's making for himself. I like how entertaining he is. But Stephen Thompson is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Stephen Thompson, guys. He is an incredible karate-based striker with excellent movement and timing on his shots. He has great kicks, power, speed, really good cardio for his age, and he's almost 42 years old. He can still keep up, but it's important to note we haven't really seen that cardio put to test recently. It was just towards the Kevin Holland fight, which was 2 years ago. His cardio was completely on point. So that could always change, especially at this point in Stephen Thompson's, at this point in his life. You never know when that's going to start going downhill, but we haven't seen any huge cardio decline from Stephen Thompson yet. He's taken on Joaquin Buckley, who has put together actually a really quiet role. He's a fighter who's pretty decent everywhere. There's not a ton to break down. He pretty well excels in boxing. He has good power, and recently it seems to be his speed is improving. But on that, there's not a ton to break down with Joaquin Buckley. He's a big, strong guy, gets the job done. Since his last loss over 2 years ago against Chris Curtis, he has put together a really impressive win streak against Andre Fialho, Alex Morono, Vicente Luque, and Nurulson Ruziboev. This one really, really shocked me, and this is where I was kind of like, okay, it's time to stop counting out Joaquin Buckley. It was a sloppy win, but he still outdid Ruziboev, okay? I think that I've been underrating Joaquin Buckley, and I'm almost sure that I bet on this fight against Ruziboev. Regardless, this is a better matchup for Stephen Thompson. Here's the big question. Is Joaquin Buckley going to come out, and is he going to try to take Stephen Thompson down to the ground? Because recently, Stephen Thompson has shown a weakness in his game. He is past his prime, and his takedown defense and ground control have been proven to be problems against him. I think Joaquin Buckley has the takedowns available and has the strength in order to take Stephen Thompson down. But is he going to do that? Because Joaquin Buckley's trying to really, really market himself, and he does like those highlight reels. He does like to get the finish. He's not one to completely shy away from the ground, but I know that Joaquin Buckley wants to make a statement. So, is he going to go for the takedowns? I would imagine he would. This is a tough fight, though, because I feel like if this is just on the feet and Wonderboy has not declined since his last fight, I think that Wonderboy's a better striker, and I think Wonderboy can kind of dance around Joaquin Buckley. I would not be shocked for this fight if Stephen Thompson beat Joaquin Buckley. But for the fight, for this prediction, I'm going to pick Joaquin Buckley. I'm kind of like sitting at a 70-30 over here. I think that he's on a roll right now. He is in his prime. He's getting better. The speed's improving. And he's really making something of himself. Stephen Thompson's towards the end of his career right now. Is he even given up on that title fight opportunity? I know that Stephen Thompson's always been like, all right, I'm on my way. I'm going to get that title belt. But I don't know. Has he given up on that yet? I'm not too sure. Has he even talked about retirement? That I don't know. That's something to take into consideration as well. My pick is going to be Joaquin Buckley with like a medium level of confidence. And man, this is a tough fight because I like both guys. But Stephen Thompson is one of my favorite fighters ever. And I think I have to cheer for him to win. And you can see the odds are pretty close as well. That's actually shocking. I thought Joaquin Buckley would be more of a favorite. Joaquin Buckley sitting at a minus 186. And you can see that you have the over 2.5 odds on it. I actually don't hate that. But that's definitely something that I'm not going to personally hit myself. Very, very interesting. I'm gonna pick Joaquin Buckley. Cheering for Wonderboy though. All right, guys. Moving up onto the next fight, we have Carla Esparza versus Tecia Pennington. The absolute banger on this card that I cannot wait to watch. Okay, you have Carla Esparza, who is a decent wrestler, and that's pretty much it. All she wants to do is get you to the ground on the feet. She is horrible. On the other side of the coin, you have Tecia Pennington, who is your typical WMMA fighter for the division. She puts her head down. She swings. She's pretty good at doing so. She's pretty good strength for the division. But man, like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not excited for this fight. Oh, man. What can I say? Carla Esparza coming off the demolition of Wei Li Zhang. Tecia Pennington, I will say, though, absolutely 100% beat Tabitha Ritchie. That was a crazy, crazy robbery, in my opinion. So she's coming off of a good performance, actually. And to do it against Tabitha Ritchie, I think that's a good, that looks good on your record, guys. Look, I'm picking Tecia Pennington to win. Carla Esparza has announced that this is going to be her last fight. She already kind of sucked, and now that she has her head completely out of the game against somebody who's looking to be a champion in Tecia Pennington, I'm going to go with the fighter who is going to be a champion and somebody who is going to really put a pace on Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza also is almost 37 years old. I'm picking Tecia Torres to get the win. Don't care who wins. Let's see what Odds Jam has to say over here. Wow. Okay. Tecia Pennington's only a small favorite as of right now. That's a little bit shocking to me, to be honest with you. This is something that I was actually considering throwing money on. I just don't see Carla Esparza getting the win for this one. Tecia Pennington is a high confidence pick of mine, to be honest with you. Let's keep going. But now, guys, let's move on to a sneaky banger on the card. I'm not even memeing right now. I really cannot wait to see this fight. I like watching both guys a lot. It is Ihor, the duelist Potieria, taking on Cesar Almeida. Guys, if you've been following the channel, you would know that Cesar Almeida is somebody that I have been extremely high on and excited to see where his career goes. I'll start with him. He is a very technical striker who possesses skills everywhere in MMA. The UFC will advertise this guy as a kickboxer, but he can keep up at any point wherever the fight goes. The only issue, and to be honest with you, it's a pretty big issue. His only issue so far is the takedown defense. He has great kickboxing technique. He has good BJJ. He has good heart. He has amazing ground and pound. He just is an all-around great fighter. But like, as I mentioned, the takedown defense is a really big problem in his game. Massive issue. And that really showed against Roman Kopylov because although that was a split decision, he was having major issues with the takedown defense. And it's not the first time that we've seen that from Cesar Almeida. But the dude has shown he's improving. He's a kickboxer transitioning to MMA, and he's looked really good doing so. He's taking on Ihor Potieria, who I personally believe is better than his 21-6 record, and I think that he's improving. So he's a decent all-around fighter, but he is primarily a striker with big power, but can get carried away in a brawl. And if he gets into that, he sometimes can make fight a little bit of a 50-50. He does well in the sloppiness, but it absolutely can work against him. So recently, and this is something important to note because he's sticking around here, he is at a new weight class. He's a 205er coming down to 185. In this weight class, he looks bigger, he looks stronger, and he's been utilizing new tools. Something that I've been mentioning is something that Ihor Potieria has been doing is like reaching down for the leg and then just coming up with like a bomb of an uppercut. Like, he's adding new tools to his he's adding new skills to his tool set, He's coming in a better shape, and he seems to be improving a little bit. I was really high on him after the Robert Bryce-Check fight. I thought he looked fantastic over here. I loved his performance. I thought he looked great at the weight class, but then Pereira steamrolled him, and I lost money on that fight. But although I did know that Pereira was good, I just thought I took a stab at the giant underdog that Ihor Potieria was. I think he was like a 5-1 underdog, and that didn't end up working out. So you have two fighters who are actively improving, in my opinion. This one is a very close fight. I wonder what the odds are, to be honest with you, because I could see them being in Cesar Almeida's favor, but I think Ihor Potieria has always been a little bit of a really underrated fighter. Like, even against Rodolfo Bellato, though, like, he should have gotten his own KO win in this fight. The fight was taken away from him, right? So Ihor Potieria is a good fighter. I like him a lot at this weight class. But for the improvements and the technique that I've been seeing from Cesar Almeida, he's really, he got thrown in against Roman Kopylov in his last fight just 3 months ago, and he had a pretty good performance. All he needs to do is take care of that takedown defense. But even then, is Ihor Potieria going to want to take down Cesar Almeida? He can. I don't know if he will. I think it's a closer fight, and I'm interested to see what the odds are. I'm going to give a slight lean towards Cesar Almeida, kind of like a 60-30, but again, a little bit of a low confidence pick in there, and that's why this fight card is going to be fantastic to watch, guys, because there's a lot of really close fights on here. I'm excited for it. I'm gonna cheer for Cesar Almeida. I like Ihor Potieria, but I do like Cesar Almeida more. I'm cheering for his career. I like somebody coming in at 36, almost 37 years old, coming off of the Contender Series and really making some success for himself. So let's take a look at what the odds are. Okay. Okay. You have Cesar Almeida sitting at a average odds of -368. You know what? I get it, but I think that people are still counting out Ihor Potieria. He is absolutely an underdog opportunity on this card. All right, guys, let's continue on to the final prelim of the night. We have Marina Rodriguez taking on Eisman Lucindo, and this is actually a really good fight for the strawweight division in the women's division over here. I think that both fighters show some promise. Marina Rodriguez past her prime now, but still, it's a good fight in my opinion. So you have Marina Rodriguez, who's a striker who does her best work when boxing. She has good speed, volume, and especially combinations for the division. In her game, though, she has a little bit of a hole, that being takedown defense. I wouldn't say it's a massive hole, but it has given her problems in the past, and that's something Lucindo can absolutely take advantage of, because you have Eisman Lucindo, who is a grappler with great takedowns, especially from the clinch. She's very good at ground and pound, very good at submissions. On the feet, though, she's a subpar counter striker. Not a ton of work with there. So you're looking at this fight, and I kind of think it's more so of a grappler versus striker matchup, except I don't think that, like, for example, Marina Rodriguez is useless on the ground or Eisman Lucindo is useless on the feet. I don't mean to say that, but there is a clear advantage for both fighters. Like, Marina Rodriguez clearly having a stand-up advantage and Eisman Lucindo having a clear advantage when it comes to the ground. So, again, it all matters. Can Marina Rodriguez defend the takedown? Can she keep Eisman Lucindo at range? It's possible, but for a fighter in Lucindo to get the experience under her belt that she's had at only 23 years old, continuously improving, but even, like, I don't even know how much I want to say Lucindo, like, because I was just talking about, like, okay, well, her striking is subpar, but she just got the better of Karolina Kowalkiewicz, like, literally everywhere. I mean, it wasn't spectacular, but she got the win. Like, she outstruck Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and I think that she's showing massive improvements in her game. So I'm going to pick Eisman Lucindo in this fight. Marina Rodriguez is, unfortunately, on the downslope of her career right now. She's 37, pushing 38 years old, and she's taking on Lucindo, who is just almost 23 years old. It's something that I'm considering betting on myself. I like Lucindo in this fight. I think that the ground game that she has is very, very dangerous, and I think that she's going to continue her win streak. So Lucindo is going to be the official pick, and you can see over on Odds Jam that Eisman Lucindo is sitting at a slight favorite. Makes sense to me personally. That's how I feel about it, but yeah, I like her in this fight. I like her. I'm feeling really good about her. Marina Rodriguez couldn't keep her on the feet, but I don't think so. Now, guys, before we move on to the main card, I want to stop you for just a second because I do talk a lot about betting on this channel. If you guys are interested in either supporting the channel flat out or seeing exactly where I'm putting my money where my mouth is, if you want to take my MMA knowledge and combine it with your own research every single Thursday or Friday before the UFC event and sometimes throughout other events, LFA, Bellator, One Championship, I will be posting a community members video and post every Thursday or Friday before the events talking about exactly what I'm doing with my own money. Again, if you're either looking to support the channel or you want to combine my fight knowledge with your own research, I would appreciate it. It's very, very cheap compared to other channels. You can find that in the pinned comment, link down in the description, or right next to the subscribe button. Lastly, if you would like to use this same tool that we've been using on the channel called Odds Jam, we have a sponsorship with Odds Jam. Odds Jam is fantastic. Thank you very much, Odds Jam. But if you are somebody who is serious with sports betting, you have multiple sports books, they have all the tools in the world. They're the first ones to find the odds everywhere, the props everywhere. So I personally really like using Odds Jam. Very good for research when it comes to these types of videos too. If you're looking at like where the different sports books are putting out their odds, I think it's fantastic for serious sports bettors. So if you're interested in signing up to Odds Jam, you can find my link in the pinned comment description down below. Again, use code Clenbat and you can get a discount if you want to sign up. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Let's get into the unfortunate main card that had Movsar Evloev officially out of the fight. All right, guys, let's talk about Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I actually think this is a really, really good matchup for the division. Okay, and I was about to say what fight is... Oh, and... Wow. All right, off to a great start for the main card over here. I'm just... One day I'll get used to this stream deck, man. At least I haven't, like, done this at all. Like, boom, oh my god, I'm in the wrong scene. At least I haven't done something like that, right? But anyways... Continuing on, we have Roman Dolidze, and what I was questioning is if this was a middleweight bout or not, because I know that Roman Dolidze just took a short notice fight up in the light heavyweight division. So, back down to middleweight, you have Roman Dolidze, who's a good grappler with really sloppy hands, but he can scrap. He has some good heart. He has unfortunately been overrated the majority of his career, and that's what a lot of people have been really coming to see for Roman Dolidze. But he is a tough guy. He is very capable of getting the job done. On the other side of the coin, you have Kevin Holland, who is an incredible striker who does his best work when he's at length. He has really snappy shots, really good confidence in there, good power, good kind of like just flow in general. And he has pretty good scrambles and improving Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And we've seen that in his last fight where he snagged up a really, really nice armbar against Michael Olekstruck. The issue at this point with Kevin Holland, though, and it's a really, really big issue, is we don't know what Kevin Holland is going to show up into the octagon. Sometimes he shows up like he just could care less, and he's treating it like a sparring match. When he's on, he is an incredibly, incredibly dangerous fighter. But the problem is, what kind of Kevin Holland is going to show up? If it's a Kevin Holland who just wants to show up and spar, absolutely Roman Dolidze could get the better of him because Roman Dolidze is actively trying to become a champion. Kevin Holland might just show up for paycheck. But if Kevin Holland is on, if Kevin Holland is taking this seriously and wants to move up the division, I think that Roman Dolidze will be no issue for Kevin Holland in his striking. Really crisp 1-2 is Roman Dolidze with his chin out in the air. I think that Kevin Holland can keep him at bay with his nice reach advantage that he has, and he's very good at using his reach. Even if Roman Dolidze gets a takedown, I don't know how close he'll be able to get to Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has really good scrambles. Kevin Holland has improving Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know if it's the level of Roman Dolidze, but I think that Kevin Holland is just miles behind miles ahead of Roman Dolidze in the striking department. He's so much faster, so much more snappy. The confidence level and flow is in there. He has really good movement. I think that he's just better than Roman Dolidze. But the problem is, what Kevin Holland is going to show up? Is he going to show up and just look for a paycheck? I don't know. And actually, something that I forgot to mention with all of these fights is you're fighting at Salt Lake City. That's a big issue, right? You're fighting at elevation. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the card. And it's important. Oh, I should have taken that into account with all of my predictions, man. I didn't. I didn't take that into account. So fighters who have potentially had a gas tank issue or are up there in age could run out of energy quicker. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland. Not just for that reason, but I think Kevin Holland's a better fighter. But honestly, what can I say, man? Like, I don't know how he's going to show up. But I think he's better. I think he should win this fight. And if he loses, it's because probably Kevin Holland probably didn't want to show up. Taking a look at the odds over here, you have Kevin Holland sitting at a slight favorite. Makes sense. I'm not putting my money anywhere near a Kevin Holland fight again unless he has like maybe a 10-fight streak of him actually carrying and actually trying to get in there and win. But those odds make sense in my opinion. All right, guys, let's continue on over to almost the featured fight on the card. We have Kayla Harrison versus Ketlen Vieira. Kayla Harrison is 17-1, her only loss being to Lacerda Pacheco, and I watched that fight, but I don't really remember what happened, to be honest with you. Regardless, she burst in the UFC and absolutely just completely dismantled Holly Holm. Like, crazy, okay? You have Kayla Harrison, who is an Olympian. I believe she's a 2-time gold medalist. Regardless, she at least has 1 gold medal. I don't know about as good as Triple C, but anyways, she wants to come in. She wants to absolutely steamroll her opponents. She has good power in her hands, but other than that, she has incredible judo. And just looking at her, she's roided up beyond belief, so she has that going for her as well. The only thing that goes against Kayla Harrison is we know that she cuts like an insane amount of weight, so that could always make you chinny if you're fighting someone heavy-handed, which Vieira is, but still, even then, I have a hard time seeing her getting a knockout. But anyways, we have Ketlen Vieira, who is heavy-handed for the division. She is also a judo fighter with the goal of just getting close to you and getting control, kind of like somebody we're going to be talking about in the co-main event. Ketlen Vieira is a pretty safe fighter. She wants to come in with her heavy hands and just get a hold of you. Sometimes she does that. Sometimes she doesn't do that. I think she is incredibly overrated for her ranking. But Kayla Harrison should just absolutely dummy Ketlen Vieira. I don't see anywhere. Like, the only thing that I could really see being a problem is this fight being at elevation. I should have talked about this for the rest of the card, man. But there's no way I'm re-recording all of this. It being at elevation, Kayla Harrison cutting as much weight as she does, and Kayla Harrison being as roided out as she is. Yeah, man. Like, that could be a problem. She could have a gas tank issue, but other than that, Kayla Harrison is being given probably a layup fight, and then she's going to get a title fight after that. Kayla Harrison is absolutely going to get the win here. High confidence pick of mine, and you can see that she is sitting at a minus 701 average odds over here. Makes sense. The UFC wants her to win. She's very promotable for the division, and the division needs something like that. They want her to beat anybody no matter what happens in the in the co-main event over here, but Kayla Harrison's going to get the win. I am very, very confident in saying so. Now, guys, let's move on to the featured fight on the card. I am also very, very excited for this fight. We have Jose Aldo taking on Mario Batista. Mario Batista getting his big chance against a top 10 opponent. We all know Jose Aldo at this point, guys. He is an incredibly complete fighter. He has everything you'd want in an MMA athlete. He has experience, patience, calm, leg kicks, great kickboxing, good power, great fundamentals. The guy can just do it all. The only problem against Jose Aldo is, unfortunately, now he is past his prime, but he's nowhere done yet, and he's really shown that since he's come back, and he's taken on Merab Dvalishvili, which nothing happened in that fight, and then he looked fantastic against Jonathan Martinez. He showed that he absolutely still has it, and I thought that Jonathan Martinez was going to get the win here. He just literally outstruck Jonathan Martinez the whole time. And I understand the style, like comparing them, like in hindsight, it's easy to say that Jose Aldo had a good kickboxing style in order to beat Jonathan Martinez, but Jonathan Martinez is one of the dark horses in the division, and that is a fantastic win to have. But Jose Aldo is now taking on Mario Batista, who is an incredible striker, great pressure. He puts on a really good pressure and pace. He has really good movement, heart, cardio, with technique behind pretty well everything he throws. He does have an all-round game, though. While he is primarily a striker, he does have a ground game to back up his skill set. Since coming to the UFC, the dude has looked absolutely phenomenal. I will say, though, the only fight that there is a hiccup in is the Damon Blackshear fight. I personally thought this was a robbery. I thought that Damon Blackshear won the first 2 rounds of this fight for sure, but it still was a really good showing, and he came back against Ricky Simone, who is also a really good opponent. I know he hasn't looked good as of lately, but that's also a fantastic win to have. Like, he showed everything here. Heart, cardio, technique. The fight went everywhere in here. Mario Batista, in my opinion, has proven himself to be the absolute real deal for the division. He belongs into the top 10. So this is a fantastic fight. My gut says Mario Batista because of how high I am on Mario Batista. The dude, like I said, I think he's the real deal. But Jose Aldo just has that experience. He's seen the Mario Batistas before. He can still deal with the Mario Batistas, and that's why it makes for such a fascinating matchup. One of these days, Jose Aldo's going to come in, and that age is going to hit him really hard. I thought Jonathan Martinez was going to beat Jose Aldo. I think I'm going to make the same mistake again in picking Mario Batista to beat Jose Aldo. And I will be making that mistake again. I'm going to pick Mario Batista. I'm going to pick the guy in his prime. I'm going to pick the guy who's looked fantastic against Jose Aldo, who we don't know what he's fighting for anymore. He's getting older. He has a lot of wear and tear on him, but also has a lot of experience. Close fight. I'm going to pick Mario Batista. I think that he's going to pass the Jose Aldo test. And, oh, man, I don't know who I want to win here, guys, because Mario Batista, like, it's always fun to cheer for, like, an upcoming prospect like Mario Batista, but Jose Aldo has been a fan favorite for such a long time, man. I don't know. I think I might want Aldo to get the win here. So, let's take a look at odds, Jim. Mario Batista sitting at a -170 underdog. In my opinion, this is one that you shouldn't bet on. You can see the over 2.5. I'm not going to hit. I would never hit that myself. You never know what's going to happen to Mario Batista. Like, the dude is an animal. The dude is a finisher. Jose Aldo could also just expose Mario Batista. We don't know. Lots of unknowns for this fight. I'm kind of sitting at like a 70-30 for Mario Batista for this fight. 60-40 maybe. It's a really, really, really good matchup, and I can't wait to watch it, man. That is a great fight. Now, guys, let's continue on to the people's main event. We have I did it now. After just talking, I haven't had any slip-ups. Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. Guys, there's not a ton of breakdown for this fight. You have Raquel Pennington, who's a decently well-rounded fighter. She has okay striking. She fights extremely, extremely safe. She wants to win on points. She tries to control her opponents with a clinch and wrestling game. She has good cardio. She has good strength, and that really helps her to get the job done. She is a boring fighter, to be honest with you, but she's been able to get the wins. But I will say, like, I don't know how people really rate her, but is she championship caliber? No, Kayla Harrison would run through her probably. There's a few fighters there. Like, the Macy Chiasson win is okay. Other than that, like, nothing stands out here in her last fight. But Juliana Pena at least has a win over Amanda Nunes. But unfortunately, she's also coming off of like one of the worst destructions and most embarrassing performances we have ever seen. Juliana Pena is a grappler with okay submissions and some of the worst striking in the entire UFC. She does have good heart. She's willing to scrap. She really puts her body on the line there. She tries to get the win. I will give Juliana Pena that. So, here's the question. Can Juliana Pena make this a dirty fight? If she can, I think that Raquel Pennington's going to get the win. But, I don't know, man. Juliana Pena has had a 2-year layoff. This is one where elevation might come into play. We know that Juliana Pena can throw. She could try to get the win, but Raquel might just hold her. But can Juliana Pena submit Raquel Pennington? I don't know what's going to happen in this fight, man. This fight could go either way. It could be a slow, boring kind of fight that Raquel Pennington puts on, or Juliana Pena could make it a little bit sloppier, make it a little more fun. Maybe she can find a submission. I don't know. This is a 50-50 fight. Not a clue's going to win. For the sake of the video, I'm going to pick Raquel Pennington. But this is a 50-50, man. Very, very 50-50. And guys, honestly, I hope Juliana Pena gets the win. I think that she gets too much hate. Yeah, you know what? The Amanda Nunes performance is embarrassing. Yeah, the trash talk is cringe. But she tries. She tries to make it interesting. And I think people like her really need to be praised. And I keep meaning to make a video on that, man. Let's take a look at odds jam. I hope that Juliana Pena gets the win. Raquel Pennington sitting at a slight favorite. Makes sense. She's the champion. She probably has a strength advantage, cardio advantage. I don't know, man. That's a close fight. I have no clue who's going to win. All right, guys, let's move on to the main event of the evening. We have Alex Poatan Pereira taking on Khalil Rountree Jr. Fantastic, fantastic fight. Alex Pereira remaining active. Ever since his loss to Ihor Adesanya, the dude has been on a tear. Close fight against Jan Blachowicz, but destroyed Yuri Prochazka, kind of. Jamal Hill destroyed, and then again, destroyed Yuri Prochazka. We all know Alex Pereira is a very, very powerful, accurate, and accomplished kickboxer who often wins by knockout. The power in this dude's hands are real. He does appear to have a hole in his grappling, but it hasn't been seriously tested yet. That's why a lot of people want to see him fight Ankalaev, right? But other than that, he has incredible timing, power, leg and calf kicks, but Alex Pereira is hittable, and he is open to straight shots down the pipe. His hands are kept pretty low, but the dude is fantastic at what he does, man. He's taking on Rountree Jr., who's put together a really, really quiet win streak, to be honest with you, and it's been against good competition, in my opinion. I know the Anthony Smith fight, like, I'll talk about that in a second. Anyways, Rountree is a very, very powerful and accurate Muay Thai specialist who does his best work when he is the person dictating the pace. That's something we're going to touch on in just a second. People often describe Rountree's fighting style like he fights as if his opponents owe him money. And honestly, like, it's a pretty accurate description. This dude comes in and he is very scary. Like, he has great, nice, snappy shots, kind of like we were talking about with Kevin Holland. He has good oblique kicks. He has good wrist punch. Like, I mean, like, in saying that, like, he literally will just punch your wrist. Like, the dude is just very, very violent in general. And that's why he's a pleasure to watch. Here's the problem with Rountree, though, is sometimes if somebody is able to push that pressure back on Rountree, then he can suffer a little bit. But other than that, Rountree is also hittable and chinnable. Okay. The only thing that I really want to touch on is the Anthony Smith fight. This is his most recent fight just 9 months ago. But Rountree was getting the better of most exchanges, and he looked good ultimately. But the problem is, like, he got hit way too much against a slow Anthony Smith for my liking. That's the only thing that's really making me go, he's always been hittable, but like Anthony Smith at this point in his career is really hitting you as much as he is. Again, he looked good. He had a really good highlight finish, but it's important to take a look at that fight. So another thing that's important to take into consideration is both of these fighters are taking this on relatively short notice in Salt Lake City. That could have an effect on things. But here's the thing, guys, okay? Here's the thing. When looking at this fight, I see two kickboxers that are going to stand there and they're going to do what they do. They specialize in kickboxing, Muay Thai. I think Alex Pereira is the better striker. I think he's the much better striker. My gut is telling me that this one has big upset potential. Alex Pereira is due for one of those. And Rountree can bring it, okay? I don't think that Rountree's... I've seen the odds for this one, and I don't think they should be as high as they are. But then again, Alex Pereira, I think 9 out of 10 times would win this fight. He's just better. Like, Rountree could have his moments. They could be tagging each other for a little bit, but I see a first-round finish coming from him. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I see a first-round finish coming from the side of Alex Pereira. Ugh. Gross. I just think he's better, man. I think he's better. So I'm going to pick Alex Pereira for this fight. He's on a roll. I think he's going to continue the roll. He has shown no signs of slowing down yet. But there are external factors like how in shape he was, or same with Rountree, though. Like, I'm talking about both of them. Or they're fighting in Salt Lake City, too. That's something to take into consideration. But other than that, I think Alex Pereira is better. It just wouldn't shock me if we saw an upset for this one. I'm just saying. Rountree can bark for the dog that he is, okay? And the odds over here, Alex Pereira sitting at a massive, massive favorite. Honestly, I'd put Pereira at like a 3-1 favorite. That's just me, though. Let me know if you guys are feeling the same way about this one, guys. Because this one, again, has upset written on it. It's a gut feeling I got for this one. Gut feeling. If you guys feel the same way, let me know. And you can see, too, like, over 1.5 is minus 125. Pretty good. For who I'd like to win, though, like, I like Alex Pereira a lot. And I always cheer for Glover's Gym. But I think it'd be just really cool to see Rountree get the job done. I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be cool for his story. I think it'd be cool for him to, like, get this undeserved title shot that everybody's counting him out for. And I'd like to see him get the win. I just like those stories, man. And Cole seems like an okay guy, too. I recently listened to him on... Crap, what was it? Was it Jackson's podcast? I'm having a blank over here. I listened to him somewhere, and he seems like he's a good guy. So, I'm going to cheer for Rountree, although I do like Alex Pereira, and I always cheer for the people from Glover's Gym. Guys, let me know what you thought about all of the fights down below, and especially that main event. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to continue watching the channel, though, guys, check out this video on screen. YouTube thinks you like this video the best. I would love to have you over there, guys. Take care, everybody.